Hey guys, it's Awesome here and welcome back to a new video. So today I'll be testing Red Dead Redemption 2 on the GTX 1660 Super paired with a Core i5-9400 and 16 gigs of RAM. And I use DX12 for testing along with the Nvidia 451.67 drivers. So Red Dead Redemption 2, I'll show you 3 resolutions, 1080p, 1440p and 4K. And for each tested resolution, I set TAA to high along with textures at ultra. So first for 1080p, I'll show you Xbox One X preset, which was enough for 55 FPS on average with 1% lows over 40 frames per second. Next, I'll change my preset to low setting. This was pretty much enough to be over 60 frames per second with an average of 78 FPS with lows just under 50 FPS. To say guys, we were CPU bound here. Next I'll switch to medium settings. Here the average frame rate was very close to 70 frames per second with minimums and lows close to 50 FPS. For high settings on 1080p, this was enough for 50 FPS on average with lows just under 30 FPS. At last I'll just use ultra settings on 1080p, which was enough for 38 frames per second on average, though you can easily drop below 30 FPS when large amount of effects are present on the screen. So for 1080p, I'll suggest using the medium quality preset for targeting 60 frames per second and high settings for those who are targeting 30 to 40 frames per second. Next I'll switch to 1440p. First I'll show you Xbox settings, which was enough for 49 FPS on average with 1% lows and minimums over 30 FPS. Next for low settings on 1440p, this was not enough for 60 FPS and we had an average of 55 frames per second here with lows just over 40 frames per second. Medium settings next, which was enough for 49 frames per second on average with minimum of 39 frames per second. Next for high settings on 1440p, and this was enough for 41 frames per second on average with lows very close to 30 frames per second. At last with ultra settings on 1440p, and here the performance was not acceptable and basically not playable in my opinion. Here the average frame rate was below 30 FPS with frequent drops to 20 FPS. So yeah guys, for 1440p do not use ultra settings. High or medium settings is the way to go here. At last I'll switch my resolution to 4K. First I'll show you low settings, which was just enough for 30 FPS on average with frame rate dipping below 30 FPS quite often when you are in large towns like Saint Denis. For Xbox settings on 4K, here the performance was not playable as we had an average of 29 FPS with minimums and 1% lows close to 20 FPS. Guys, the Xbox One X doesn't use native 4K. So I would suggest not playing at 4K even with low settings. So for the CPU side, I would say if you have this combo targeting 50 to 60 FPS on average on large cities like Saint Denis is the sweet spot, as the CPU maxes out at 60 to 70 frames per second, at least on this part of this map. And there are frequent stutters when you're moving to new area. So yeah guys, that's it for this video. Hope you enjoy. Drop a like if you did. Consider subscribing if you're not subscribed yet. Suggestions and comments are welcome, and I'll see you next time.
Place like this, you get even old Scratch to give God some thanks.
Come, please, take a pamphlet and learn how you Save the white race!
Morning to you.
Your move! You had your chance. I'll take it from here. I want him down! Please, no! He's here! Shoot to kill!
All of them did it.
Slow down! Hey! Okay, now you are really starting to annoy me. Hold it right there, mister.
No lo haga. No, God, please. Get off. Get away from me, damn you!